Hello. My name is William F. Cody, but you can call me Buffalo Bill. This is the story of how me and my best friend left the prairies of Nebraska and became two of the most famous plainsmen in America. First, let me tell you about my friend Texas Jack. His real name is John B. Omohundro, but because he was a cowboy down in Texas after the Civil War, we all call him Texas Jack. That's him sitting next to me with a group we led on a buffalo hunt one summer. That's actually how we got noticed in the first place. When I was assigned to Fort McPherson as a scout for the Army, I met Jack, who had just arrived at nearby North Platte trailing 3,000 head of longhorn. We became good friends immediately, and Jack started joining me on scouts and hunts. Rich Americans like newspaper owner James Gordon Bennett Jr. came out to hunt, and we were asked by the Army to help them find buffalo to shoot at. Soon, European aristocrats like the Earl of Dunraven and Grand Duke Alexis of Russia, son of the Tsar, were asking for us by name. The Sioux showed Alexis how they hunted for buffalo, and he was highly impressed. In between hunts with royalty, a writer named Ned Buntline came to town. Ned was one of the most widely read writers in the country, second only to Mark Twain in terms of recognition. He was looking for someone like Wild Bill Hickok to write stories about, but after a few drinks with me and Jack, he decided we'd make for pretty good subjects ourselves. Sure enough, as soon as he left Nebraska, Ned Buntline began writing stories about the western adventures of Buffalo Bill Cody and Texas Jack Omohundro. These dime novels, with names like Buffalo Bill, King of the Bordermen, and Texas Jack, White King of the Pawnee, were huge hits, and people across the East were reading make-believe dime novels right next to stories of our real adventures in newspapers. This all came to a head in late 1872. Earlier in the year I went to visit Buntline in New York, and he took me to see a play based on one of his stories about me. The audience cheered so loud when they heard I was in there that I was obliged to take the stage and say a few words. I've faced Sioux arrows, enemy bullets, charging bison, and all kinds of things, but I was never more afraid than I was that night, standing on stage in front of all those people. When I got home, I told my wife I didn't think I could ever do a thing like that again. And she agreed right up until Ned Buntline's next letter, which promised that if I would bring Texas Jack along with me, we could earn more than we could ever spend as actors playing ourselves in a show based on our own lives. I was still reticent, but Texas Jack decided then and there he was an actor and convinced me to give it a shot. Our first night was in Chicago, and Jack and I didn't know the first thing about acting. Ned had decided to star in the show with us, just so he could help us out and keep things moving. He also hired a famous ballerina, Giuseppina Morlacci, as the female star. Well, with only a few days' practice, we went on stage, and Jack and I forgot everything we had tried to memorize. We yelled and fired our stage guns at actors dressed as Indians, and somehow the audience loved it. We did more shows, and over time we learned enough to make a real go of it. We played in more than 64 cities over the coming months, and by the end of the tour we were pretty good, if I say so myself. When a reporter asked me if I was giving up acting to go back to my life as a scout, I spoke for myself and my good friend Texas Jack when I told him I'm no scout now, I'm a first-class star.